Hello, my name is Ricky Dinham from the Auckland Star Trek fan group. Tonight I'm going to do a bit of an experiment with myself, with my liver and with my reviewing skills. I'm going to review three episodes or movies from Star Trek, and while I'm going to do it, I'm going to drink this 500 mils of vodka. It's 37.5%. So I'm not going to hold myself to drinking a certain amount within a certain time because I want to gauge where I'm at so that I don't put myself in any sort of health risk. This is a very dangerous thing and I do not recommend you do this. I know my limits and I'm pretty seasoned alcoholic, so I know when to stop. And for my own safety, I think my biggest issue will be possibly falling over, so I've set myself up in my bed so that the only thing I have to do is go to the toilet. But if necessary, I'll pee on the floor, but I won't get to that. So as a control for this experiment, I'm going to give a review sober so that you can compare. The review that I'll do will be for the last episode of Enterprise. I can't remember what it was called. These Are the Voyages, that's it. That's a very sort of controversial episode because Enterprise was cancelled very early and due to, some say, franchise fatigue. And a lot of people felt that it didn't do the cast justice. It didn't tie up storylines enough. And by bringing in Riker and Troi, it sort of was like rubbing salt in the wounds in a way, because the focus was on them as opposed to tying up all of the loose ends and that. So I tend to think of the last episode as the one before that, the with the arc with the Terra Nova, I think it was. These Are the Voyages I tend to think of as tying up the whole, from beginning at 1986 to the end in I think 2005 or something like that. That whole production of, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. So I think it was an interesting touch at the United Federation headquarters that they filled up. All of the extras were actually crew that worked on that. They weren't just normal extras. So I think in a way it really does pay homage to that entire era, because it was a huge era and it was a huge risk starting off with the Next Generation. With in its early days finding its feet in that. And then there's, in each sort of series, the crew and the cast have to find their feet. But with Enterprise, they had the luxury of seeing what worked and what didn't work before. So I think it is a really nice tribute to that whole era, which I'm very lucky that I was living in, from like the age of 11 up until, I don't know how old I was. So I thought it was wonderful that they brought out all the old sets. The one thing that was a wee bit funny was the turbo lift wasn't quite right in the Next Generation. And if you look closely, when the scene where Riker and Troi are in 10 forward, they only did a partial creation of that. That actually is a shot. The wide shot is actually from Menage a Troi, and you can actually see Riker in the background. So Riker is in two places at two different times. So okay, I'll keep this down to 4 minutes. I really enjoyed it because as an actor and somebody who's worked on a crew, I can understand that there are a lot of people that you don't see, and then there are the few people that you do. It was sad that Enterprise ended, but I think it was a nice homage to that whole era. So that is my sober review. My next review will be, I don't know, when I'm halfway through that bottle, and I'll let you know what time it was. It was 11 past 6 when I started this. So next up will be my review of Star Trek Beyond.